A good teacher is someone I feel like that is very open-minded, going away from the days of like, you can only train with me, you cannot train with anyone else, you are my group, you are of my student, you cannot be friends with them because of this, because of that, all that. I feel like that beef and that drama is slowly going on with the grandmasters that are passing away, because beef is real and cousins and family won't talk because it's money to them, because they're teaching a martial art that creates an income for them. So I feel like being open-minded as a teacher is very important, being welcoming to new things.
Stay tuned, stay curious. Enculturation Podcast. Gerald, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for coming on here and being open to this.
All right. Well, you know what? It was some time planning. I'm glad that I'm finally here, and thank you.
Yeah, I'm really happy to have you here. You're going to be the first guest that is going to bring us into the world of Eskrima. So tell me a little bit about your background and what is Eskrima, and just take me into your world.
Okay. So I lifelong martial artist. I started when I was 7. My dad enrolled us in Okinawan Karate. It was a family thing. So my sister, myself, my dad, and one of my godbrothers, he would take us to class like 2 times a week. Karate, super defense based. Did that for about 7 years until I was 14, and then my sister is like, "Oh, I'm done with karate." This is when the teenage years are coming, and then it's like, okay, well, she's stopping. I want to stop too. I want to do other things, play sports and whatnot. And then my dad restarted, made some connections again with Filipino Martial Arts, and then he started going hardcore FMA, Filipino Martial Arts, FMA. So if you hear me use the term FMA, it goes hand in hand with Arnis, Eskrima, and Kali. Those are the names that you'll mostly hear when referring to Filipino martial arts.
So all the other things are referring to the same art, or it's like different?
It's kind of
branches?
just like they all have their own styles.
Okay.
So you see someone that's doing Kali, you're going to see a lot of swordplay. The range is all different. Arnis, you'll see modern Arnis. You see Eskrima, and then also you'll hear like another one, Balintoak. So there's so many different styles of Filipino martial arts. So like kind of like group them all together, FMA.
Okay, so FMA is like the overall umbrella term,
right?
And then Arnis or Kali and Eskrima is like
correct.
the branches, if you will.
Right.
Yeah. How related are those 3 branches, or are they the same branch under the umbrella?
Well, everything's based from a sword.
Okay.
So when many years ago, when the Philippines, they practiced Filipino martial arts, and a lot of their weapons came up from the Moros, like the Malaysia going up through Cebu in the southern part of the Philippines. So you'll see a lot of the weapons are very similar. So again, when the Spaniards came, disarmed the Filipinos, they would always carry a barong. A barong is not it's a style of sword. And then once the Spanish said, you can't have arms, that's why everything translated to the stick. And a rattan stick is typically what you see a lot of practitioners use.
Oh, so the limit, or because they were limited to sticks, that's kind of how the art form developed, right?
Right. So just like the Japanese, using all the regular farm tools as weapons, anything became a weapon in Filipino martial arts. So again, initially, you'll see a lot of it was blade oriented. So you see a lot of cuts, slashes, and stabs. And then, once they were disarmed, we were able to use the stick. So again, like, big misconception about Filipino martial arts is you always need a stick. A stick is just a training tool. Anything in your hand nothing or empty hand is a weapon.
So I'm curious. I know there's in the Philippines there's like hundreds or if not thousands of different dialects, right?
From what I understand, as many islands there's that many dialects.
Yeah. So with as many dialects, is there also as many like variations of these art forms?
100%. And then you got to think of how things were taught back in the days, like grandparents or dad parent to son, or daughter, both. So it's never like large karate classes and it's like a mass of people doing it. I was just talking with my dad and he was saying that when he was a kid, Filipino martial arts wasn't like a thing to be offered as a school, it being from that country. The biggest things back in the day were karate, judo, and maybe even, some boxing too.
Is the history of Eskrima or FMA well documented, or is it kind of like more of an oral tradition that?
I would say it's more of an oral tradition. If anything nowadays, the younger generations are starting to document everything. Talking to the elders, talking to the Grand Masters are still around. Yeah, I think too. My style is better than your style. These are times that they call it juego todo. So like they're matches that just anything goes. It's to the death. No armor. We're gonna fight until one of us gives up or they walk away and then they die because of internal bleeding.
Well, I guess since you're here, that means you won a lot of matches.
Fortunately, I've had nothing. They're all sanctioned in or their tournament and controlled.
It's all to code.
There's no pits or anything like that. There are some very extreme, tournaments, or I won't even say tournaments because a lot of times they're gatherings when they have like the really, really extreme. When I say extreme, I'm talking about like minimal armor, and the sticks are like very, very thick and you get to pick your own.
So guide me into how you got drawn to Eskrima from where you are, or where you were rather, to where you are now, which is a master, right? Like, was it just because your dad was a grandmaster or is a grandmaster, and then he just naturally passed on to you and you uptook it? Or
for me, martial arts has just always been around. It's always there at some point. Movement in general is just always something that's very important to me. Dancing, it translates over to martial arts and back and forth. So my dad being, he's training it all the time. He's gone, or I'm going to his tournaments while he's competing. And I'm like, at the scorer's table with the stopwatch, and I'm watching him fight. I was like, oh man, if he's doing it, maybe I should. It's like I was this small little high school kid that was undersized a lot of times, and I was like, man, all these people are bigger than me. And then on top of that, it's like, oh, it's Filipino martial arts. I'm born here in the U.S. I don't speak the language well, or I understand it okay, could be better. I don't speak it fluently, but I could speak it a little bit. What is a good way to bring back my roots or learn about my roots, And it's like Filipino martial arts. My dad's doing it. He's teaching me. He's showing me stuff. I'm seeing it with my own eyes when he's doing it. I'm like, oh, this looks pretty cool, So that was like a huge thing for me. It's like, okay, there's this junior high movement of like knowing our roots. For me, I grew up in Fremont, and at that time in our elementary schools, like maybe 7 or 8 people of color, and then the rest of the schools is white. What's Filipino? Is that type of Chinese? I was like, no. Is that like a Mexican? At that time, like no one really knew what Filipinos were, at least where I grew up. So then that's why it kind of drove me. It's like, you know what? Junior high was like, there was a Filipino club. I was like, oh, there's enough of us to have a club. So I was like, okay, let's learn. Let me learn more about my roots. Let me tap into the Filipino ancestry, So that's, to me, was like one of the big drives at the early stages of learning Filipino martial arts.
Yeah, super cool. And in the process of learning it, what did you like walk away with that's specific to that art form that maybe you wouldn't have learned elsewhere?
Oh, right off the bat, Filipino martial arts, you learn you get handed a weapon right away.
Like day one, you get handed.
Day one, you learn how to hold the stick. Learn how to hold the stick properly. It's not like like I was telling you, when I did karate, barely did knives, like a knife defenses and attacks, or more defenses and like escapes. I didn't learn that until I was much later, or many years into training, but like Filipino martial arts, okay, here's a stick. You're going to hold it like this. You make a fist right away, first class. That's the main thing, because the stick is a training tool, and it becomes, anything in your hand becomes a weapon.
how much of it is like self defense versus like offense? You know.
For me, I think defense is very something I learned from one of our grandmasters, Sir Bob Tabamina. Your defense will diminish their offense, and then you get you to the point of like, okay, now how am I supposed to hit this person? Like you gotta think of like Floyd Mayweather, right? He's pretty much untouchable. He'll get touched every once in a while, but for the most part, his defense, being able to roll with punches and not be there when the strikes are coming. So defense to me is key. That's what I like to focus more on, is defense. And then once you break down their offense, then you attack. It's much easier.
Yeah. What about like what early days of Eskrima was like compared to modern day practices? Has it changed? Has it gotten more like competitive? Is it less defense oriented? Is it more offense oriented? Like, is it?
I feel like it is pretty offensive. There's not a lot of defense
nowadays. You mean? Or before?
Still,
okay.
Like from the get, you know. So I've been competing in live stick competitions. One of the organizations is WeKaf, and then another organization that I currently compete in is GSBA. In that, we have helmets. We have this thing called an apron. You're required to have some type of gloves, usually hockey gloves, or they have gloves that you could pick. When you have all that gear on, people feel or see that it's like, oh, it's just people just whacking people with sticks. You can't really see defense, you know? So I feel like there's not a lot of defense as shown in tournaments, period.
Is it because you have a lot of body armor? So like
I think it's style.
Okay.
I think it's style. Personal. This is just my personal opinion. You know, our group, we focus a lot on defense. You know, that like I said, you know, and defense could be moving your head, using your footwork, striking the weapon hand, but being able to block and then counter in real time. Because it's when people train, for me, what I like to, any of my students that are competing or learning from me, I highly suggest that if your group doesn't spar, then you're not able to really test your techniques that you're learning in real time.
So sparring is very essential to
some sort of sparring.
Okay.
You know, it could be controlled. It could be with a padded stick. It could be with an actual stick with some armor or no armor. You know, it kind of just depends on your teacher.
So let's say you're sparring, whether it's at the beginning level or at master level, right? Mm-hmm. Are you targeting certain body points for
sure.
weakness? Like,
sure.
Walk me through what your eyes are seeing in a match.
Okay. For me, I'm gonna definitely hit the hands. That's the biggest thing. You hit the hands, they can't hold the stick, they can't hurt you. Next would be the head. Arms would also be a target, but body and legs, you know, that for tournament sake, that's really for the big power shots, the thuds, or the making the apron pop when you hit someone in the body. The ones that you don't hear are when you get hit in the hands or the head or the back of the head or the neck. Those aren't the fun ones, but those are always targets though.
What does it feel like to get hit back of the head with a stick?
Ah, man, you know, I remember one of my first tournaments. I was fighting Master Dale. At the time he wasn't, but you know, I was like 18, fighting like 30-year-olds, and some of them going in their later 30s. So like as they're about to go into the senior division, so 40 and up, and then they're like, you know, they're the kings. They were the champions of that division, and then I'm like this fresh 18-year-old kid. And then we're doing team competition. So team competition, you have three fighters. Each fighter has 1 minute, no weight classes. So and there was no like, there's male female. It could be interchangeable. And I was fighting this guy. His name's Dale. Every time I was fighting him, he's a lefty, and I would get hit right in the back of the head, right here, and it just, my helmet would just spin. And I'm like, and then I like, boom, and then helmet turns, and then I'm like, you know, straightening it out, and then trying to fight and trying to adjust, and I was like, I couldn't, you know, I knew because he was a lefty and I'm on my right, he could get around it. And it just, after I took off my helmet, you could just see these large welts, red welts, and then became buckles later. And I was like, oh, yeah, I don't like that, but I'm going to use it, but I don't like it.
Are there like competitions where there's no body armor, like something like a Eskrima or a UFC equivalent?
There's been a few as of recent. There are these older groups. So WeKaf, going back to what I was saying about WeKaf, back in the day, like in the mid 80s, 85, 86, and 88, maybe around there. They had these tournaments that were very similar, same helmet, same apron, but everything goes, like stabs. You could thrust, you could use the puño, the butt of the stick. You could punch and kick and grapple. And those were the rules, everything goes. But, you got to think, if you want to make this into a large tournament scale, it's like, how can I get my kids that want to learn Filipino martial arts and then see this violent action of a tournament? And then what makes you think as a parent is like, oh yeah, I want my kid to do that too, but I want so they start to remove the grappling, they remove the kicking and punching and the thrusts. So early days, there were definitely those events. And then even the Dog Brothers kind of ventured off from WeKaf, and the Dog Brothers is like, they just wear a fencing helmet, and a fencing helmet really is not that much protection. I found out after buying a helmet, and like, oh yeah, you could still get hurt. It's pretty good protection for the face, but you see videos of people's skulls cracked, being hit by the stick, and their orbals are all like, probably cracked, hit on the arms. For sure, it's like super bruised, and it's like there might be a fracture in there. So yeah, they do exist. I just myself haven't competed in any of those because, I have kids, I have work to do, and I can't, get suffer that much pain, especially if you're going to be training for that tournament. You got to do same type of fighting to lead up to it, so then you're physically ready for it.
Yeah, that's a good point. So what about in like real world applications? Let's say you're not in a competition, but there's like someone on the street coming to bug you, right? Like one, I'm going to assume that you're not carrying a stick around you within the street. What would you do?
I mean, for me, like what martial arts has taught me is awareness.
Okay.
Being able to assess the situation prior to anything actually happening, so kind of looking at people. Like I remember going to a restaurant in Concord, and I was eating at Chili's with my family, with the kids, and I was like, walking around, looking around as we're waiting for our food. Guy walks in with this long ass blade. Like in my head, it's a fixed blade. It's not concealed. And I was like, what are the rules? For as far as like, I hear all the rules. You can't have a pocket knife the size of your palm, 3 inches, da da da. But this dude, like straight up, like it was like Crocodile Dundee style knife. It was like, that's not a knife, a knife. And I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. It's like, okay, pay attention now.
He wasn't a new chef.
Yeah, right. He wasn't trying to cut nothing, And then, again, I feel like it's always awareness, being able to see what's happening before it happens. Fortunately for me, I've never been encountered into a situation like that. But I do see it, before. Not to say like he was going to do anything, but at the same time, I'm prepared and I know where he's sitting. I know where he's at inside the restaurant. If he's getting up, walking to the bathroom, I saw him. It's definitely awareness is where it's helped me the most.
Yeah, would you say that the Eskrima has sped up your reaction rate? Because like it's one thing to see punches and kicks, right? But sticks are moving at a faster speed, even.
Yeah, 100%. It's definitely like made my awareness and depth perception. I'm gonna say this funny story because ain't no one's gonna believe me, but I was cooking. And I was outside in the grill, and I was making short ribs, and the sesame seed, I heard a pop in the grill, and the sesame comes flying at my face, and I swear it's like a cartoon, some fake stuff that just happened. I'm just watching it, and I just go like this, and I'm watching it go like, and then I was like, Did anyone see that? And it happened. And, so that's why, like, when you said, like, seeing a stick, I don't see the stick. I see how the body moves.
Okay.
So the shapes that they're making is what I'm seeing. And it's funny because, when I think about how long I've been doing, like, Arnis for, as like, I think about, man, references I'm using. It's like, oh yeah, it's like the Matrix. I was like, when the Matrix first came out, I was like, he's seeing all these numbers. He's doing like, the bending and everything. I'm like, it's kind of like that. When I'm in a fight in a match, that's what I see. Sometimes I'm not even looking at the person's face. I'm looking off to their shoulder, or I'm looking at their stomach, and then I'll look up at their face and they're like, why is he looking at me down there? Why is he not looking at me? Like,
yeah, that's a good point you brought up, because stick movements or hand movements would be, I guess, a side effect or consequence of what came before it, right? And so if you are looking at what came before it, you have a good indication of what's going to come after, and so that would increase your window of response, if
right?
you will.
Because that split second, you're just like, oh, okay, he's gonna go over here. I'm gonna move, or I'm gonna block, or I'm gonna strike you before you even strike. Then I'm gonna counter, and then I'm gonna get out.
Yeah, like I have a background in playing a lot of video games, so what you're talking about reminds me of
Soul Calibur?
Not Soul Calibur, like the actual game, but there's a shift in community where you have to get like the highest refresh rate monitor, right? Like,
okay,
like gamers,
you gotta explain to me, because that does not make any sense to me.
Think of a time unit. So there's 60 seconds in a minute,
Okay.
60 minutes in an hour, right? So refresh rate, it's like how many units per second, right? So think of it like something that's like faster than a second, for example.
Okay.
So some people are able to discern 240 frames per second.
Wow.
Meaning like they can actually perceive a difference, right? So what you're telling me sounds like you're able to perceive like a higher refresh rate than the average person.
I see what you're saying now.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It's like, the internet, when you see all those memes and they're doing something to catch something, or they kick something, and they're pretending like they're Spider-Man. They're testing their skills. I'm like, yeah, that, something falls, I catch it. Something's, I'm saving something by catching it with my foot, or slowing it down, and it's like, I forget my sunglasses are in my head, and I start laughing, and it falls back, and I'm like, boom, caught it, and I'm just putting it on.
This is like a slightly off topic, but I feel like you would be really good at badminton.
Oh, I am. I think I would.
Do you know of any examples of Eskrima being used in popular culture?
Yeah. So like, nowadays they're in movies. They've been in movies for
really?
so
Okay.
long. So
Yeah.
It's so funny. I was watching The Last Dragon with Bruce Leroy.
Okay.
And I was showing it to my daughter, and then when her watching it, they're using actual Filipino martial arts in that movie. And that was like in 82 or 83, I think that movie came out.
Like I guess my question to help me and my listeners better understand is, are there other stick-based or weapon-based martial arts that FMA could be associated with, or like misunderstood for, or like or is it anytime we see
Stick
stick-based
stuff.
that it's related to FMA?
I want to go as far as saying anything you see knife based
Okay.
is Filipino martial arts.
Really? Okay.
For sure. I don't think there's any other martial arts that are similar. I know Thailand has their swords, those long swords, but I've never seen them use or practice it other than Muay Thai or anything like that.
Okay.
I just seen it in like, like almost like a form, or like how they have a dance almost like. But yeah, I
So you see it more like an art form base rather than like a martial art form base.
right.
Okay.
Right. So yeah, when you said pop culture, it's like, yeah, it's been in movies for years, decades even. Like one of the movies that just came out, Dune. They're doing Balintawak in there.
Oh, really? Dune?
Yeah, straight up. I was watching it. I was like, oh, and I sat through it. I the first one, I was like nodding out. I was like, oh, it's not catching. It didn't catch me. I don't know why, or whatever. For whatever reasons, I'll give it another try. I'll watch a second one. But when I saw the parts and they're doing, I was like, oh, I was like, hold on. It's like, oh, that looks good. Okay. Oh, number 12. I'm calling all these things out as it's happening, and it's just funny, and it's cool to even see it. Like I was saying earlier, like The Hunted. That's an older movie. All the Bourne Identities, Book of Eli, all of those, all the all the actors have been doing Filipino martial arts of some sort for those movie roles.
Yeah, that's actually a big surprise. I didn't realize it was that popular. I thought like maybe some some lesser known movies might have used it, but
Oh no, like Bourne Identity, like when he grabs the pen and he starts hitting people and stabbing people with the pen, I was like, that is Filipino martial arts. Rolled Up Magazine, again.
okay. You know what? Let me pull up a scene from Dune. Maybe
Sure,
you can
sure,
like
sure, sure.
because I'm super curious now because I didn't know it was that prevalent, right?
Oh yeah, it's in the first one, and he's training with some his teacher. I don't know who. Again, I don't know the story well or the movie enough, but it was a training session that they were doing.
Now I'm curious if like I've been seeing this usage of FMA this whole time, but
Not realizing
yeah.
it was right. Like if you even look back to the court, like the choreographers for the fight scenes, I think a lot of them are from, Denny and Santo. And he's the big guy that's trained with Bruce Lee.
So yeah, we'll do some commentary. You can like
Sure.
guide us into what you see and what's being used.
See that
So is this FMA right here?
100%. Like when I'm watching the slashes and the cuts right there, the block, the locks, the disarm.
And then
you
is this Arnis or Eskrima? Like is this?
all the same. So there's like I said, Arnis, Eskrima, Kali, all that right there is like strike number 5, blocking.
Now you're making me think about all the like pretty much all the knife scenes I've ever seen in a movie, if they're FMA.
Oh, 100%. Like they used it in The Matrix, Bourne Identity. Like I said, Book of Eli. There's so many like Filipino martial arts in all. Whenever I see a knife or a sword, unless it's a katana, unless it's like a samurai movie, then for sure they're not going to be doing it. But even when you see people using 2 sticks, so the stick, like I said, I'm going to keep on saying it's a training tool, So whenever you have the stick removed and you place it with a knife, everything still applies the same way.
So like, with that said, what skill level would you say this choreography is translated into terms of
If it's like
FMA?
straight FMA,
Yeah.
I'll give it a solid 10.
Oh really? Okay,
For
so
sure.
it's good. Okay.
Like I was like, this is a good representation of like FMA for sure. I enjoyed it,
Yeah.
because like even the blocks on the hands and then the locks are here. See, it was like lock, joint manipulation, stab. That's totally something that we practice in FMA and all FMA.
Okay. Like I like how realistic it looks because there's one thing I have grievances with like modern Chinese cinema. It's like
Too
super. That's not choreographed. It's just super over the top. Like
Right.
like this guy is like just straight up flying in the air. I mean, I get there's a time and place for that, but it's
Right.
flying in the air, summoning a meteor or something.
No, I got you. Like here, it's like you'd never hold the blade of a knife, and also when you're getting stabbed, it's like the slow death. It's like never like that, It's like you want to kill someone, you want to do damage, you're gonna do damage to make it quick and get away, Oh man, spoiler! I didn't even know this happened.
Oh, you really?
He dies? Wait. Yeah, so like when I watched Dune, I was like, I could really tell like they trained Filipino martial arts for these choreographed scenes.
That makes me really happy to hear that that you feel like it's represented in the right ways.
I feel like it is. I felt like they did it well, because you can't fake it anymore. It's hard. And then they're probably using stunt doubles at the same time too.
Yeah.
Which is cool. But I feel like they did. I didn't even know he was in this movie too. The spoiler for real.
I seriously thought you watched this.
No.
Sorry.
What happens next? No, but yeah, I was in. I enjoyed watching it.
Okay.
Yeah, when I saw the knife play and I saw the close quarter stuff,
Yeah.
I was like, total block, move, attack. So I feel like they did well.
I wonder how many people from the Philippines out there realize that the culture is being used in these movies.
It's funny when you talk to people from the Philippines. So I won't say recently. Definitely like in the mid to like 2010 and later.
Uh-huh.
Like even when I had the tournaments in the Philippines, when I went in 04,
Yeah.
we had the tournament inside a mall, the Shoe Mart at SM Mall. And this is like multiple floors, like 6 floors high, and then like they have like a little stage area that you could have events at, and
Yeah.
that's where the tournament was held. So you see all these people just leaning over the edge, looking down, and then I'm not fighting yet, so I'm walking around the mall and shopping, and then I'm like, oh, what's going on over there? Oh, it's a Arnis tournament. Arnis? The sticks is from here, and like, oh, okay, yeah, I only did that in grade school. So it's like in their PE, it's like us doing square dance in elementary school. So like they did it as a physical education course, and then that's all they know about it. So
Is Arnis or FMA, is it somewhat of a lost art form, or is it like
I think it's growing.
okay.
So competing in those tournaments, those are international. So you see people from all over the world. Um, so it's thriving. It's just not. I feel like it kind of gets lost in the shuffle back in the Philippines.
Yeah.
And for the grandmasters to make money, they can't stay in the Philippines and promote themselves. They have to go elsewhere. So where the demand is.
That's very funny that that's the case, because it seems to me that's also the case in dance.
Mhm.
Like a lot of the styles that I am into, and I think you are into too, originally originated in New York, right?
Right.
But the New York dancers are traveling the world
Right.
elsewhere to
Right.
make a living out of it.
For sure. And that I feel like it's the case for all martial arts almost. You know, I wouldn't say like they're not popular in their home countries, but definitely to make a larger, a better income for themselves would be to have to leave their home.
Yeah, yeah, very interesting. What's another clip or that you can think of, a movie that you think of that represents this?
Born Identity.
Which one? There's like so many of them.
Do the pen. That's my favorite. Like to me, Filipino martial arts is so creative that anything can become a weapon. Like even John Wick. You know, a lot of those hand to hand fighting. I was like, oh, they're even using karambits, even like knives from that are super popular right now.
Yeah,
So
I'm actually genuinely mind blown right now that what you're telling me is like so well represented. Because like for example, with Capoeira, I thought you were gonna say, oh yeah, this other movie equivalent of Only the Strong, which is
right,
like a more smaller movie, right?
right,
Not
right,
like
right.
popular media.
Oh, but it's not small, man. You got to just 'cause, it's side note. Like when Mark was at their event just recently, this
Yeah,
past event that just happened, I was like, man, that would have been the year. Obviously, it's the years that I've gone. I was like, but it's like to be there and see him too. I'm like, man, it would have been definitely pretty cool because he's also doing John Wick.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
I didn't mean to minimize it, but just like
oh
as far
yeah,
as like a Dune movie.
right, right, right. No, it's like I said, it's like Filipino martial arts has been in movies since the '80s.
You know what? Little fun fact: Mark liked one of my posts on Instagram.
Let's go.
Yeah, I was like, oh damn, okay, cool, reaching the
All
right
right,
audiences.
all right.
you know?
Came. He's like, ooh, oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, Born Identity. Yeah. See, so that the pen in his hand, that's the weapon.
Who came?
And I remember I was
Did
talking
his
about
brother
when
leave
you're
a
fighting,
number
the
or a way
first
to get in
target
touch with him?
would be the hand.
I feel like if you create a like office worker like tournament series where like office workers get pissed at each other and just using the pen and sharpies.
Hey, I carry a Sharpie with me all the time. There you go. If I don't have a knife in my pocket, I usually have something.
I think that would be a hit because now like a lot of piss off office workers.
Yeah.
I'll go
Telling you, man.
try the water in the kitchen. Why don't you just stay in the bathroom? I'll see if I can
Maybe then
get it
we can
hot.
use that as like a leverage point for enabling remote work.
Yeah, it's really cold in here too.
See, he arms himself with with a knife now.
The water is still cold.
Yeah, it's cold in the kitchen too. I got it running though.
Gosh, I can't even. How old is this movie?
It's
Not is it 90s or 2000?
I think it's 2000s. Wait, he looked young.
Yeah.
Here.
What?
Where's this fight scene? I'm skipping.
That's crazy. I should skip 20 seconds maybe.
Are you okay?
Okay, we'll wait it out. It's 20 seconds.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now every movie you see with a fight scene with knives, you're gonna assume.
Yeah, like man, like I was not expecting that level of reveal.
What is it?
Yeah. Like when I watched that fight scene, like because that was the first time seeing it, I was like, it's even the disarm of controlling and striking. A lot of elbows, a lot of close quarter fighting. Yep, Filipino martial arts.
I seriously bet so
Here-
many of my Filipino
So
friends
here's the
did not know this fact.
really
Yeah, because you're
See,
the first
look
person
at
that
this
made
arm.
me realize it.
yeah really
Yeah.
See, right there.
So like, is this level 10 choreography or what level is this?
I would say this is. I was happy with this too.
Yeah.
You know, but again, like, and what made it cool, like during his interviews and when the first movies came out, he was mentioning I trained Kali for this.
Oh, Matt Damon did.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You know, I was like, heck yeah, dude. It's like mainstream. See, totally destruction, block, destruction, attack.
So like he was applying what you mentioned earlier. Where he went with the arms, right?
Right.
To this arm.
See,
Like the hands.
boom, right there. Can't hold the knife no more, right?
Okay.
So
Wow.
that.
Good detail.
So this what the common term you'll hear a lot of is defang the snake.
Defend the snake. Okay.
Defang the snake. Let's see. In Filipino martial arts, there's a lot of locks, arm traps. So like when people play with me and I'm teaching them and they do other martial arts and like jujitsu, for example, they're like, "Oh, you have good control." I was like, "What do you mean by good control?" It's like me feeling and knowing where they're gonna be or putting them where I want them to be.
So I feel like anytime there's a knife talk conversation, Steven Seagal is going to pop up at some point, right? So like there's so many memes around him, so we gotta like break him down a little bit, right?
How old are we going? We're gonna go. We're going young.
Like just well, I can't think of a movie off the top of my head right now, but like,
Siege.
what's it called? Is it called
When he was or is it Siege?
Siege?
I think
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, this one he definitely wouldn't be holding the knife out like that. You know,
Like out in the front.
like hey, I'm gonna fight you.
So that's
Like and then the reverse grips. Yeah,
is there anything legit about this scene? Because Steven Seagal has kind of taken on the mantra of like being all stage, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
I think his style's pretty consistent. The actor is definitely not, and he's using a lot of his aikido for sure. Yeah, at this time, it's definitely not good representation.
Okay.
But at the time, you know, that this is what we had. You know, I love how you brought Steven Seagal up.
Like I honestly think he's kind of the meme knife guy, right? Like
Yeah.
like his moves right here, like how legit is that? Because like he's known for making like this fast hand movements.
Yeah,
Yeah. But also, I feel like the choreography, you don't really see anything.
no, this definitely at the time, you know, it's definitely grown over this.
Like, what
But
was that just
those
there?
hands, like, yeah, you know, I mean, he's got good defense because he's like, you know, checking him. You can see his elbows are checking the weapon hand and everything, but it's just putting yourself at a lot of risk. That is definitely some Aikido defense techniques. But, you know, Steven Seagal likes to say that he taught Anderson Silva to do the front kick knockout. I'm like, did you really? I don't know. Maybe. You know, when he started to show up around at the UFC events, I'm like, I seen this one. It's so disturbing. Like when I see videos sent from Central America or anywhere, like you could tell, or maybe even I haven't seen any in the Philippines, but they have machetes and they're like straight up swinging at each other in the street. And one of the main things that you don't do when you striking is you put your hand up and block, because he ended up with no hand after. And
Oh,
yeah, and
wow.
I was like, why did I? It's like, why do people send this to me? And then I didn't realize it the first time I watched it, and then as I read the captions and then some of the comments, I'm like, wait, I had to rewind it and watch it again. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, his hand got chopped off. He went over and picked it up and then left. It's scary, man. Like it's no joke, because it, like,
He got it handed to him.
oh, for sure.
Was that an underhanded comment?
I see. There, I was trying to think back, but I know my memory is gonna be bad, and I don't want to butcher any of them and attempt, because I know it would be wrong. But yeah, when I saw those, I'm like,
I think that guy's been butchered enough already.
yeah. See, I can't. I don't want to try.
Well, let's check out this, like a friendly knife fighting between Philippine
Okay.
Marines.
Okay.
So is this FMA?
Yeah.
Okay.
So right here, what they're doing, it looks like they're doing like more of a
Like-
continuous spar.
Oh, okay. I guess that was a short.
So like those shorts alone, right? You could see there's these tools that you could I forget the name of the knife, but they change colors. They make sounds when you make contact. So I feel like those are good training tools, because right there, what we just saw is a lot of just, I would say, point sparring, rather than like, I'm just trying to make contact with you. When we used to train in the backyard, my dad told us, okay, everyone come to class, bring a white t-shirt. Okay, everyone's gonna wear a white t-shirt. Come to class. Going in the backyard training. All right. Here, hold this felt tip pen, right? I forget the name of the brand, but it smells good. So when he's like, all right, so now what we're gonna do? We're gonna do the same training, not with a knife. Now your pen is your weapon. Now, every time you slash or you stab, we're gonna see red marks on our shirts, red marks on our arms, and where we would have gotten cut and where we got stabbed. So after seeing our shirts, and we're like, oh damn, yeah, it's like, you guys, it's like, I'm pin cushion now, it's like I'm bleeding everywhere, so the sharpest knives, you don't even feel the cut.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, that actually reminds me of the times where I've gotten cut, where I see it like being cut, but I don't feel anything yet,
Right,
until
right.
like way later.
And then once you see the blood, then it's your brain starting to process, like, oh yeah, I got cut. Ooh, that's a deep one.
Have you seen the Beekeeper?
No, is it good?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Okay.
You want to watch
Spoiler?
Yeah.
Sure. I'll watch it eventually. I didn't know. It's just, who's that? Jason? It is. I didn't know he was like an action fighter.
This
like,
guy?
Yeah, I only watched him from Snatch first. Oof. Ooh, his face got messed up. See, all right. So can you pause it real quick? Just that first attack. You typically, what you see is, when the attack comes, you'll parry.
Let's fight again.
Yeah.
Let's see.
But something I noticed here is, instead of a parry, he's punching it. So watch his left hand. Boom. See that?
Yeah.
So as a strike, when the knife is passing his face, again, you have to cause destruction, right? To disarm the weapon. So defang the snake, right? So typically what you'll see in a lot of other fight scenes, you see as the strike is coming, he's checking with the outside hand to pass the attack and then countering with his other hand. Here, he's punching the hand, which is causing destruction. So like a lot of dirty boxing or Filipino boxing that I've learned, it's about punching and hitting the arms, destruction on the joints. If a kick is coming at you, I'm going to do something to your knee.
Oh, you know what? I just realized this kind of goes back to what you said earlier about like the whole self-defense part, right?
Mhm.
So like, for example, if he had a knife in his left hand, he could have stabbed a guy.
Right. Or as the strike was coming over this way, he's to pass it, he's slashing the arm.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. If I had a stick, I'm slashing, hitting the weapon hand right under at his elbow, right? Destruction of the elbow.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's what, just that alone, I'm sure not a lot of people would notice that, but like seeing that, I'm like, see, that's dirty boxing. That's to me what I've learned is that's Filipino dirty boxing. There's a lot of names for it nowadays, but again, I'm only saying what I was taught from my dad or other instructors.
Yeah. Yeah. Very interesting. You definitely opened my eyes to forever change seeing knife fights in movies now.
For sure. Like I feel like almost all of them are Filipino martial arts. Like,
Because how I was perceiving it was or is like, oh, these fight scenes are cool. Maybe they're trained by Navy SEALs, or maybe Navy SEALs use this or something like that.
and guess who teaches Navy SEALs? Filipino practitioners.
Oh, really? Cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Like in especially in the Philippines now. Now, like I said, now they're seeing the effectiveness of it.
Yeah.
So you'll see like the clip that you played earlier. You know, a lot of Filipino militaries is learning and practicing Filipino martial arts.
Very interesting. Okay, I'll continue the clip.
See how he has the control on the wrist and on the shoulder to stop it.
I really like scenes like this where you can tell what's going on.
Right. See, joint. He's gonna. I was trying, like, I'm watching this, trying to like guess his next move of what they're gonna do. It's like in my head, like again for the movies. He's like, why would you ever fight?
So you're saying that anytime there's a slow like knife stab situation,
Yeah.
that's
I
not
feel like
based on.
I feel like that's dramatics.
Okay,
You know,
okay.
I definitely for like the movie effect.
Okay.
One of my teachers when they said, you won't know that if I'm trying to hurt you, right? This is what my instructor's saying. You're not gonna see the knife. Like you saw the other fights or scenes, they're holding the knife like this.
Yeah.
You'd never do that.
Yeah.
Like you would literally have it hidden so I could get close to you. And when you know I have a knife, I'll be gone because I already got you. You know, it's definitely like soup, 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 gone. It's just like I think the closest that you would see is like stuff that you would see like in prisons when you see people getting shanked. It's like that, you know, things are hidden, things are rolled up. You know, you don't know that they're going after you.
Yeah.
Right. It's definitely when you see the people have two or each person has like a machete, like what I was talking earlier, they're about that life. They know what's going to happen, you know? So
Damn. Some hardcore stuff.
it's scary, man. It's like when I see it, it's hard to watch because, you know, pretty much anything's on the internet, especially when you see the real life stuff. And then you see the you know, the things play out and it's like, okay, they're not here anymore, you know? So it's like, when you see that, it's like, it brings again the awareness. It's like, who looks like they're armed, you know? Even if like the people that have like a CCW, you can see when they're in their shirt, when they're leaning forward and you see a box in their back, it's like, yeah, you got something underneath your shirt, you know? And it's, you know, like, so I'm aware of that. I'm like, oh, okay, let's get out of here. Or let's stay because they're ready.
Yeah, super interesting. Yeah, that whole like slow knife stab is like
Yeah.
very iconic in so many movies.
Oh, 100%, you know,
It's building the drama, right?
for sure.
Yeah.
So like here, like, oh yeah, destruction of the arm. So even that strike right there, when you stop it, you go with the flow and then you go underneath for the attack. Oh, he has one leg?
He has two legs, but one was a prosthetic.
Okay. Ooh. Oh.
Damn. So now, after talking to you, I see like a similar pattern in some of the knife fights where one there's like the slow like
Mhm.
slow
Drawn
stabbing,
out,
right?
right,
Yeah,
right.
and then two there's like the destruction of the arms.
Right. Destruction of the arms, because again, you gotta be able to protect yourself, right? You break their arm, they can't hurt you anymore.
Let's watch a video on actual Eskrima match.
Okay.
Is there anything that you want to pull up in particular?
Okay. You know what? Just put on WeKaf. It's because
Okay.
this
What is
WEKAF. So they just recently had a world championship
okay?
in the Philippines.
So WeKaf 2024.
Yeah. I how I feel it is, it's more of a almost like a game of tag.
Okay.
So this kind of goes along with like the karate point sparring. Make contact, head is 2 points. Again, I don't know the full rule set, but typically head would be 2 points. Hand will also be 2 points because again, those cause the most damage. The way you see these tournaments is that you have to think of if they had no armor and they had an actual live stick, if they got hit in the head compared to someone getting hit in the leg, what's going to cause the most damage, right? Hit in the leg, meaty muscle, it's fine. Get hit in the head once, you're going to be dazed, or it's going to hurt way more than getting hit in the body or the leg.
Have you ever tried fencing?
No. You know what I do want to try, I doubt I'll ever get to, is that French cane fighting.
What
Have
is
you ever
that?
seen that?
No, what is that?
That's cool. Yeah, we'll watch that later, because like when you see that, you'll be like, you'll understand why I feel like that would look fun to do. For me, point sparring, again, you don't see defense. You don't see blocking counters. You see most of the defense you would see, if any, is if you want to count it as defense. But I feel like they're doing it just to do it and not doing it consciously.
Mm-hmm.
Is they're hitting the hand or they're using their footwork. But you won't really see a block and then counter right away. So I feel like the padded stick are fun. I feel like it's still a developing sport, or at least a division, because like I said, I would like to see it. There's a vision I have for myself and that I would want to do, and it would be to not be hit, right? Or if they're attempting to hit me, that I'm able to block
Mm-hmm.
and then attack and score a point and still get away. It's funny because you hear the people, oh, for me when I'm sparring in full gear, and like, oh, you're hitting, you can't feel the hits, it doesn't hurt, you're not showing defense. I said, okay, well, let me see the way you're sparring. I'm watching their videos now. They're wearing minimal armor, but they're fighting identical to how people are fighting with full gear, not showing defense. If they're getting hit, they're just going and walking through it. They're not acknowledging the strikes or the techniques. They're just cavemanning it. Boom, 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 getting hit. So in my head, I'm like, what is the difference really? If you want to spar that way, I have no problem sparring that way. Or what always gets to me is when they say, oh, you don't feel the hits when you're wearing all that armor. If you're wearing hockey, because there are some people that will not wear leg padding, they'll wear no arm pads. Those wear the required equipment. When I see that, as I see it, all the targets that I'm going to be hitting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh, no arm pads, cool. You're gonna have stripes on your arms. I'm gonna get your arms. Trust me. Oh, you have those gloves that are like mittens and the fingers all exposed. I'm gonna break your. I'm trying to hit your hands as hard as I can.
You ever seen that clip of Bruce Lee where he's talking about, like, I think it's the beginning of the Enter the Dragon movie,
Okay.
where he's talking to, you've seen Enter the Dragon, obviously. Okay, so there's no spoiler at this point.
Wait, what?
So yeah, in the beginning he's talking to this monk, right? And then
See, I don't remember the movie that well. Though.
okay, so basically it's a scene where he's saying that, like, in the match,
Mm-hmm.
he doesn't hit because he doesn't exist. There's only his fist, right? So
Okay.
his fist, it hits, right? So pretty much what I'm asking you about is there a certain flow state that you reach in matches, because things are happening so fast, you don't have time. Like, I would assume there's less of like a thinking mechanism, like, hey, I'm gonna do this in this moment, like
If
yeah.
anything, that happens as the match is about to start, or as we're like, okay, bow, cross sticks, then all of that thinking goes out. Now it's more reaction based for me, and I feel like reaction based is best. Having a game plan, and then another thing is also being able to be coached, being able to tune into who is yelling your instructions to you, what to do.
Were you always more reaction based as a strength, or did you kind of had to work into that versus like being more methodical and being thinking oriented?
I think It came natural,
Okay.
because like even that's going back to sports. When I was a kid playing sports, like maybe I didn't play soccer, but I was able to play soccer, or badminton or table tennis. I was able to like not like, oh, how do you hold it, or how do you swing, how do you hit, where should I hit it? That didn't really cross my mind. It's like, all right, just do it. Figuring it out on the fly. Again, I feel like reaction based is probably pretty accurate.
Okay. And how would you teach someone to be more reaction based, considering that it seems like Gen Z is very digital, and
Right.
so there's a lot of like cognitive things that they're doing on the day where it's interacting with a phone, where it's all kind of just sitting there and being cognitive about it. Like,
Um, so though a lot of the stuff that when I teach, especially now I have a little one, so I'm always trying to teach her and mess with her wherever we are. It's like, oh, punch, how you gonna block? How you gonna react? Sensing is a huge thing, being able to feel what is gonna happen before it happens. Being aware, hyper aware of just your surroundings and everything around you.
so when you say hyper aware, is that something that you feel like your brain is just always on now, or is there like
I feel like it
a switch?
is. I feel like it is always. Like I said, like I surprise myself when something is falling and I catch it, and then when I'm surprised by it, and then someone's like, "Whoa, how did you do that?" Or it's like, "Oh, damn, that's a good catch," and it's like, to me, it's like, "Oh, that happens pretty frequent," and like, I don't know what it is. Like you said, you can't see us. Being able to, you can't really see it the sick, right? Because it travels so fast, but you could see the motions of what it looks like. And I've seen that enough times that I know it's like, okay, I trust myself. I'll get out of the way majority of the times, or I could be safe in distance of getting away or going in and zoning in, being able to like, okay, I'm over here and now you're over there.
It's interesting. I've talked to some hunters before, like meaning like hunting animals, actual,
Hmm.
like not
Hmm.
like a analogy, right?
Right, right, right.
And they talk about you don't aim where the animal is going to, or is, you aim where it's going to
You're
be.
leading it. Right,
Yeah.
right, right, right.
Yeah. So you mentioned teaching. What's a good teacher? What should someone look for in a teacher, and what even qualifies someone to be a teacher of Eskrima or FMA?
Uh, you know, um,
Because in other art forms, it seems like
you could take a course and you're a teacher.
yeah, you can take a course, a weekend certificate. You're
Right,
like a
right, right,
master,
right.
100 hours, 200 hours, whatever.
So this is where I said sparring is important.
Okay.
If your teacher doesn't spar, doesn't like to spar, I would question it. That's like, why? And in a respectful way, obviously, right? Or if they do spar, do they look like they could handle themselves? Are they able to execute, what they're teaching you? Um, this has got to be years. I feel like has to be put into it prior to teaching. I don't want to say in a specific amount, like you have to have 5 years or you have to have 10. I feel like because you could be doing training 5 days a week for 1 year and you're just going to skyrocket, and then there are those people that just like, oh, okay, it comes naturally to them. But a good teacher is someone I feel like that is very open-minded, you know, um, going away from the days of like, you can only train with me, you cannot train with anyone else, you are my group, you are of my student, you cannot be friends with them because of this, because of that, all that. I feel like that beef and that drama is slowly going on with the grandmasters that are passing away. Because beef is real, and cousins and family won't talk because it's money to them because they're teaching a martial art that creates an income for them, and families have been split up because of that. So I feel like being open minded as a teacher is very important. Being welcoming to new things.
Yeah, with so many teachers, or the separation or differences between teachers, is there a qualification of these styles among teachers? For example, let's say I go to you and then I go to another teacher. Is there like a similar baseline, or is completely different?
There'll be some baselines. There'll be like minor differences, like, oh, you don't hold the stick here. Sometimes you hold the stick with your thumb. I'm totally against that. You know, it's there'll be a lot of similar things. So like when I teach people and that have experienced some sort of Filipino martial arts, I could like work around with what they know And then again, always what's important to me is what I'm teaching you is not that's it. There's always going to be another option. There's always going to be someone else's interpretation. Their body doesn't move like how my body moves.
So you're talking about a good teacher should help you start your journey and not like they are the end goal.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Just put in the time to want to learn, as a student, because that's even for me too. Is like I still, constantly reaching out there to try to see what else I could learn. Watching videos, because watching stuff and then trying to figure it out. I feel pretty comfortable doing that, so I could watch it a couple times, like, oh, okay, I could download it, and then I would have to play with it a little bit to see if the reaction and does it work in time or doesn't it work at all, or can I imitate it? Sometimes I can't, because like I don't have the timing of it. Timing is huge, that's I think what helps with being hyper aware is like the timing of it.
Yeah. Could you bring out one of your sticks and
Yeah,
break
sure.
it down?
So I brought a few different types of sticks here.
Is that like the official word for it too? Sticks?
Yeah,
I feel, okay.
sticks. Yeah, Arnie sticks, Eskrima sticks. So here's one of the sticks here. So this is, you can kind of see how thick it is.
And is it made out of a certain type of wood?
This is all rattan.
Is that the wood, or what is it?
Yeah,
What's
that's the
rattan?
type. Rattan is a type of wood. Yes. These are like this tournament sticks that we would use. A lot of times they're painted blue and red because fighter blue, fighter red.
Okay.
They're a little bit dried out more.
So what do you mean by dried out more?
Like they're dried. Like the skin is removed off of it. So here you can see the natural skin is on the rattan.
Okay.
Here the skin has been removed and it's drying for a longer
Okay.
time.
Why is there a need for that?
Because if it's too dense, it's just never gonna. It's just like you're hitting, like, especially for tournaments, right? You don't want them to the point that they're too heavy that they're just gonna hurt all the time.
Okay.
Because it's pretty common that you'll see that these sticks will break in a tournament.
Okay. So when the sticks are dried out, they get lighter, but also
Yeah.
do less damage because the stick will break before the bones will. I guess.
Right.
Okay.
It's because like in one of the tournaments in Puerto Vallarta, 2010, none of the sticks broke because we had the tournament inside of a gymnasium. All the windows were like cinder blocks, but they're all open, so it's super humid inside. And yeah, like none of the sticks are super heavy. They absorb all the moisture because of the humidity.
So they got rehydrated in some ways.
Man, that was a painful tournament. But yeah, so see, these are some of the sticks. You can see how light they are.
Oh yeah, this is a lot lighter than it looks.
Yeah, see, and then this, even though this one is pretty thick, it's not that heavy. And then they have other sticks.
So why is it made out of rattan wood? Is that a type of tree or is that the type of wood? Like I don't know what that rattan is.
I think it grows like bamboo. I've never seen
Okay.
it grown like I've only seen it in stick form or very, very long.
Yeah,
forms.
this looks like it would be
Yeah, it's like,
something bamboo related.
Yeah. And then here's another type of wood, hamagong, in the Philippines. Is super heavy.
Yeah, this one's definitely heavier.
Yeah. So this one is like a trainer stick, like something that that's something I keep close to the house. That for sure is going to cause some damage.
You have each one of these sticks by the window, like
Oh yeah,
blocking
for
the
sure.
window.
For sure. Yeah. It's like, well, you have a lot of sticks in here. Yeah.
You know how people use the stick for the windows?
Oh yeah, for sure. No, that's right by the window. Like if you see videos like of how hard the strike of a Arnis strike is, like it could break. So they compare a coconut, right, to the strength of a human skull.
Okay.
And you can see videos of like practitioners hitting coconut sticks and cracking them open with one swing. So these are what we get hit with, and then, like, to me, when people say it doesn't hurt, I'm like, why do I have bruises everywhere? Why does it sound like I have a bell in my head? And when I got I'm like, no, it hurts.
Yeah.
And to anyone, I'm like, okay, let's put on the gear, let's try, let's play. And the term play, like it's like if you hear that like back in the day before, it's like, oh, okay, you want to play, like it's like almost like a challenge, and that's one thing that they have, that like, oh, I'm the best, my style's the best, because there's always going to be someone out there that's better than you.
So what are some ways that you would recommend holding the stick by?
So typically for me, when we're fighting, where I usually get about 2 inches from I'll use my left hand. Then that's one thing, important thing about Filipino martial arts for me is you learn to use both hands. Not one hand is your power hand, not and then you so holding it with my left is not as foreign as it would some other people would think. It's very common that you have a dominant hand,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, right? So a lot of times people have the right hand or or the left hand. For me, holding the stick, going back to that, is I would at least give an inch and a half, 2 inches from the puño, from the base of the stick. Hold it like as you're making a fist. Just relaxly hold it until you make contact, just like a punch. You know, you don't want to throw a punch with your fist clenched the whole way and make contact. So then it's relaxed contact. So same thing with the stick. It's relaxed as the point of contact would happen. That's when I would clench my hand to make contact and make sure that the stick doesn't go flying.
Is there any value in the comparison of your arms are treated like a whip?
Yeah.
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 I would say that.
Okay.
You got to think of like a regular swing. We're going to talk about sports. You can
Yeah.
think of tennis, badminton, anything, a forehand strike, backhand strike, even the baseball swing, backhand, you have two hands, but in some of the styles, they have the second hand here on their forehand and swing. So it's just like a whip for sure.
Yeah, I noticed a lot of these sticks are similar size. Is there a reason for that?
Standard sticks usually around, I want to say like 28 inches or maybe a little bit longer. So this stick is a little bit shorter, and you can see it's tapered like a pool stick almost.
Mm-hmm.
If you can compare the two. So this one is what we use in Tapamina Balintawak. And the reason why it's shorter is because all that training is all close range, corto range. And the reason why it's tapered is because there's a method that's called contact shock. And when you're being hit, when the founder was training with the founder of Balintawak, Anshong Bakon, he was there using regular sticks, and, getting beat up all the time. Now it means that you can't train. So that's why they start to taper the sticks down. So then you still can get hit, but it's not going to cause too much damage that now you're not going to be able to train anymore.
I get it. So you're still getting the experience of going through the motions, right? But the motions doesn't leave you like disabled for
Exactly.
repeated
Right.
sessions.
Right. Because again, your student gets hurt or your peer gets hurt, then that means you don't have a training partner.
It's very similar to working out, right? Like there's a fine line between when you're too sore versus when you can get up again the next day.
Right. So it's to me it's having the different sticks. For me, I'd never fight in a tournament with something like this. Like it's like this feels like it's a mini baseball bat.
It looks yeah, heavy,
You know?
heavy duty. Yeah.
And it for sure would cause way too much damage.
Yeah, good point. Would your techniques or your strategies and your movements radically change, say, if you're using something way smaller like a knife versus this, because the limited range and so forth and the increased risk?
So if am I knife versus knife, or is it knife versus stick?
Tell me otherwise.
Yeah. So like if it's knife versus knife or knife versus empty hand or something like that, then the range, again, everything is like it's transferable from the stick. Now you're gonna have to learn how to fight at a shorter range. Right now, if I have no weapon and they have a long stick, then I have to find that range to be right outside where they can't reach me, and then also be at the same time to get in to stop them. So going back to the question, is it's definitely knowing how to find the range with your footwork, being able to zone in and also zone out. So like you'll see a lot of Filipino martial arts, you'll see like triangles, and then on the floor you'll see like almost like an asterisk on the ground. That's like the male female triangle with practicing your footwork going in and out.
I see. And what would you say is like the evolution of FMA or Eskrima? Like where do you see this all going? Is there people that's pushing for innovation, or is there like a certain traditionalist mindset that's holding it back?
You know what? Ever since the internet, it's because it's funny because when we started doing YouTube videos like 2007, 2006, there weren't a lot of like Balintawak groups. There wasn't a lot of stuff YouTube wasn't as big as it was, so the views were pretty like or like I said, you're gonna run over the same video multiple times because there's not a lot of people posting. And you could see the evolution of how things were starting to look very similar to what we're doing, and then other people using it, their ranges, like you could see the evolution of their styles are like, oh, they're seeing a lot of our videos. It's like they used to fight and play like this far. Oh, now they're fighting like this. Oh, look, now they're doing, similar strikes that they never did before, So it's you definitely see the evolution of it. I feel like it's FMA practitioners are very open and giving, you know, because like if I meet anyone that's done any type of Filipino martial arts, I'd love to learn anything. Show me something. It's I like I try not to have that ego of like my style is the best. Come mess with me, try me. But because I don't want them to try me, I was like, please, dude.
When you go back to the Philippines, do you find that what they're doing over there has changed?
I haven't been since 2008.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
Okay.
it's been a very long time since I've been to the Philippines for any Filipino martial arts. Um, you could see that they have like this chip that they want to like represent themselves even more, which is good, and they're fast, super fast. That's one thing I remember when I fought them was get through the first round, and then the second round, third round, just take over because they'll like the way I could explain it the most is like the sabong, when the two roosters are fighting, cockfights. When you see them come in, clash, and then they separate, and then you can see the anticipation and this finding the opening and the setups. When they jump and clash, you see it's like a ball of smoke and action moving, and you don't really know what's going on, and then they separate. So that was like one thing. The best way I could describe it at the time, from what I remember, was them coming together, again, then being very, very fast.
So your strategy was a strategy of attrition where you're feeling out the opponent and then letting maybe them tire themselves out and then you finding an opening and waiting for that moment.
For sure. So whenever I tell my students or even myself, like whenever I fight, I always start with my left hand. Always, every round, I begin with my left. So I always would say we train our left to be as good as our right. So when our right is tired, we have our left for backup. We could have that time to rest my right hand, still checking and everything and still attacking with my left. And then when I switch to my right, it's like, okay, now we're on overdrive. So it's funny because one of the tournaments that someone had posted on YouTube after we had a tournament, and then in the comments I'm reading, it's like, yeah, it's my first tournament, da 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 da. And I couldn't tell if he was left-handed or right-handed. That was the comment from the fighter I fought. I was like, it worked. He had no idea if I was a lefty or a righty. The fact that he thought I was a lefty, I was like, cool. Then when the right hand, when my power hand comes, it's like, oh, now you're ready for some destruction now.
Yeah. But let's talk about mindset. So mindset in FMA and Eskrima, right? Like how do you deal with taking a loss?
Easy, because I can't. I like out of the four. So I've competed in 8 world championships. Out of those 8, I've won 4 times, 4 separate times. So 2004 I lost. 2006 in the US I won. 2008 in the Philippines I lost. 2010 in where was 2010? Was it Mexico? Yeah, Puerto Vallarta I won. 2012 in Vegas I lost. 2014 in Italy in Rome I won. 2016 in Hawaii I won. That was the first time I had a back-to-back championships. Then 2018 in Lisbon I lost. That was a hard one that I lost. That for me, because that trip I got sick right before the tournament. I was like up until 3 o'clock in the morning, just like everything was just coming out. Yeah, it was not good. It sucked.
So why you saying it's a hard loss because like it was like a physically you were not prepared for it?
Right.
Okay.
What was a very hard loss for? No, I don't say it was a hard loss. In the Philippines, my first trip. That was a fun trip.
Yeah. So like, how do you train your students to have a tough mindset, like a more grit?
Getting very tired. Like all the fighting, everything happens prior to the tournament. As long as they could. I always tell them, because a lot of times, like if I'm teaching kids, like I'll tell them, it's like, I'm an adult. I'm this much, I weigh this much more than you. You're hurting me. If you're hitting someone your size, guarantee you're gonna hurt them. So have that like that mindset that what you're doing is right. That was like the biggest thing. And losing, it comes with it. Sometimes it's the judges. Sometimes the because the tournaments are being held, and the judges and referees are volunteers. If you're judges of like two of the countries that don't like US, because the US is always the biggest team, then they're going to pick against you, or they're going to judge harder against you. Or if like you have a Philippine fighter, then you have a Philippine judge, like sometimes they have that mentality. It's like, oh, they're going to automatically pick the Filipino no matter what.
Yeah, are there not a lot non-Filipinos in FMA?
Oh, tons. So like some of the countries that fight: France, Italy, Great Britain, Mexico, India, Switzerland, Poland, Germany, um Easter Islands, of course the Philippines, US. I said Mexico and India already. So yeah, that was one thing I enjoyed about, and I miss because of the pandemic. We were supposed, the 2019, we were supposed to go to Poland, but then COVID happened, everything got shut down.
So you mentioned that you like one of the things that you're getting out of FMA is connecting to your ancestry and your roots, right? Um, does it surprise you to see so many other cultures be into FMA, and like
Not anymore,
why do you think that they're into it?
because they see the artworks. Again, what was another big reason? Bruce Lee, Jeet Kune Do, JKD. You learn Filipino martial arts in JKD
Oh, do you? Okay.
because of Den and Santo.
Okay.
You know, so it's a lot of reasons because of that right there. And then when people come to the Philippines to train with the grandmasters and go back home, they invite those grandmasters to stay with them for a month or two, host workshops, teach their students. You know, that's how I feel the groups grow. It's like when the teacher goes somewhere, learns, brings back and shows what they can, because it's not going to be the full extent of everything that they learned. They're going to have to get it from the source. And when you get it from the source, from the instructor, then that's when your students get to feel that energy. I think it's very important to feel the energy, because it goes hand in hand with sparring. If you don't feel that you getting hit, how do you know your block is going to really work? You know?
Yeah, tactile feedback.
Yeah, exactly. And it happens in real time, you know? Bing. Oh, I wasn't ready for that.
You ever hear that quote from Mike Tyson, where everyone has a plan to get punched in the face?
Exactly. Yeah. Everyone has a plan until they get hit in the hand. That's for sure. I remember after one of my tournaments, or after one of my matches, the guy comes up to me, he's like shaking my hand. Oh, thank you for the match. That's good. And then like later on, I just see his hands were all bandaged up, and I felt horrible. And I was like, now it's like in the ring, everything's like, I'm here to win. I'm here to hurt you. Outside of the ring, once the match is over, I want to be friends with you. I want to have a drink with you. I want to hear stories with you, because that's one thing that I do miss a lot from traveling from these world international tournaments. Is that I have international friends from all over the world that we would see every 2 years.
Yeah. So like, tell me about some of your most memorable memories while traveling through this art form. Like something you had to be there for, or like.
Um, the year that my dad and myself won world champion together at a tournament. Like my dad was fighting at the super senior division, like 50, maybe even 50 and up. And was it Disney World 2000? Yeah, 2006. Well, he won his championship, and then I won, because like, my dad is teaching us, and he's teaching a bunch of kids. At the time when we first started, I was 17, 18 years old. And then all my buddies were like 20, 21, you know? So that time frame, like my dad was staying in the ring, sparring 7 of us. And we're all getting tired, sharing gear. Here, your turn. All
So
right.
your dad was sparring some of you guys one by one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like nonstop, like the whole class. And that year I was like, dude, dad, why can't you fight in the tournament? It's like, oh, I just want to relax and coach and be part of the tournament. I was like, no. you're fighting with all of us. You're ready to fight in the tournament. Then he's like, you should compete this year. And that was the year that was like one of the years that we. I don't know if it ever happened in history of the organizations, but for me, that's something I remember. That was a big thing. That when my dad and I both won,
What did that feel like?
it was crazy. It was interesting, because like again, like our students are winning and we're doing well, and because our style is not what the traditional people that you would see in these groups fight. We fought way different from everyone else.
What was so different?
Their empty hand was dead.
Okay.
This empty hand, like the weapon hand, and then you have the empty hand. The empty hand is like what causes the most, in my eyes, the most damage. This is just a distraction. This is to get your attention when I want to do something else with this hand.
I see.
So this being active, because there would be so many times that you see someone with a weapon hand and their empty hand is down by their lap, and you just see strikes, with ticks, fast strikes. And in my head, I'm like, okay, that for me, I just have to get that one hand tired, and I'm going to beat that hand up while it's on the side, because it's not going to come and check and stop my hand. And if it's going to check my hand, guess what? I'm going to check. You see, on all those knife fights, boom, counter.
So it's like double the damage, but also half the half the damage in return, right? Because you're limited by one hand.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that was one thing that they would always complain about. We're pushing, you're pushing, you're punching. It's like, no, we're checking. It's an open hand strike to the chest. It looks like a punch. I got one of my fights in Puerto Vallarta. The guy got super frustrated in the fight, and he punched me.
Like after the match, or what?
In the match. I posted this on YouTube, and I watch it every time. It's like, man, how did I let him fucking punch me? And then he punched me. And then they took a hard point off of it because punching is illegal. And he straight up just went boom, because you could see he was getting very frustrated.
Yeah.
Because again, the way we fight our group is not like any of the other groups. Before social media and all the time, like you have to have a camcorder. And you don't have your phone as a camera or a video that you could record with. So you would always see whenever my matches were up, you could see the instructors are telling them, say, hey, get your camera, go record this fight. Like people, it got to the point as one of the fighters in a national tournament that you have to compete to get to the world championship. He recorded his fight against one of our students or one of our masters now. And then when he came to worlds, months later, his fighting style was identical to how our student or our black belt at the time fights. And I was like, this motherfucker stole his shit.
You guys got case studies, huh?
Straight up. Yeah, dude. Because like I said, our style is not a traditional style. Just the name alone of our group it means to fight with all styles, no system.
What's the name of your group?
Upakan Bara Bara. Upakan Bara Bara.
Yeah. And so is that a direct translation of the name, or?
So it's like mixed fighting.
Okay.
Like anything goes. Like it's like a slang term that my dad heard growing up in Manila. Upakan. And Bara Bara is like mixed. Anything, like almost like no direction.
And is that the Tagalog dialect, or what dialect is
Yeah.
that? Okay.
I would assume it's a Tagalog slang term from my dad.
Okay. And then when did you guys form the group?
So 2000. Funny, like this is a story I had to share, and I'm going to share a PG version of it, of the story of how it started, because it was my dad's birthday. My mom threw a pretty big birthday party for him in our house. And all the young kids, the 21-year-olds and a little bit younger, like me, I was 17 at the time. We're all in the garage and we're having a party within the party, right? And then my dad comes out and he's like, he sees his Arnis sticks, because we're in the garage. That's where all his training gear is and everything. Then he starts doing these twirls. Wow. And some of my friends already do martial arts. They do Kachu Kempo. Some other people seen Filipino martial arts. And then, my dad's like, I can teach you guys. Right. And then everyone's like, what, for real? You could teach us, and it's a party. So we're all like, hyped up. Right. And then he's like, yeah, I could teach you guys. It's like, and then everyone's like, all right, we're going to start. So then that's when our group, we started like I don't remember what day, but it was a Thursday or it was a weekday. So all of us would train every week for, I can't even remember how long it was consistently happening. Some people dropped off, some people didn't really have like the martial art intent but they're there because we're all friends together, and they're like, it's not for me. And there's others that kept on going, So yeah, that was the birth of it, is my dad's birthday party.
What a great like origin story.
There's way more to it, but offline. But it was funny, dude. It was like ever since then, it's like, oh, you can teach us, and then we started training.
Was your dad surprised, or was he like, "Oh, I'm actually doing this," like, or was he committed like, to what he was saying, or he
Oh
just
yeah,
yeah,
100%,
okay?
100.
Because I've seen other situations where people are like, "Yeah, I'm gonna do this," and then they get held accountable to it, and they're like, "Oh, I'm actually
No,
no."
no, and because it was being reciprocated by the people that wanted to learn.
Okay.
Like we were all very hungry.
Yeah. So, considering that your style seems to be like a more complete approach versus just a strength-based approach, right? Strength-based meaning like you're good with your right arm, so you're only going to use your right arm. So,
Yeah,
completeness meaning like your whole body, whole awareness, whole execution, right?
for sure.
So, would you say that now that there's videos and social media available, that there's been a bigger adoption of that style in other schools and other places because it's obviously worked for you guys?
Yeah, I don't see it that way. I haven't seen
Okay.
people like go out of their way to practice their left.
Okay.
But again, the content that they're sharing is because they want to show the good stuff. Maybe they are practicing it. It's just not as like strong as it is with their right. There's some groups that will say, okay, you're a lefty. That's you're left hand dominant. But we do everything with our right. So learn with your right.
Yeah.
So compared to other people, like, okay, you know, we are right handed dominant, but we also do practice our left. It may not be as the best as the right, but we're gradually trying to work to that.
Yeah. Is there any FMA being taught to police?
In the States, I would assume they are.
Okay, because I haven't seen any clips. I mean, obviously,
For the military, I've seen videos and stuff
okay.
like that.
So, like, the reason why I asked is, obviously, my understanding is going to be very limited, very skewed. Even though feelings wise, I can feel like I know a lot, but I actually don't, right?
Mhm, mhm.
But it seems like anytime I see viral clips or just clips in general of police handling a situation that requires de-escalation, I don't see those whatever sticks they use.
The baton, like, those are Japanese, man. Those
Oh,
are I forget the tonfas.
yeah, yeah. So the reason why I bring it up is like I feel like I haven't seen any videos where they're using those, but it seems, at least when I'm shown, almost always a gun being pulled out first,
Yeah,
right?
I've
Yeah,
seen it with the retractable stick.
yeah. Those,
I've
yeah,
seen those,
yeah.
and they're swinging at the people's legs to stop them from running, I guess.
Okay,
But yeah, because I don't I believe there's like, if they're striking at the head, then there's gonna be too many. I don't. I think it'd be just too deadly if they were to swing at people's heads with those.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, I feel like, again, for extracurricular, I think they should be learning it. Jujitsu is for sure something that they should be learning for control. But yeah, the Filipino martial arts is a good additive to, like, if you do martial arts already. I feel like it's something that just enhances your awareness on everything else.
What is the best way for people to support you and Eskrima and the Filipino culture, or even your organization?
Um, Come out and train. I learn. I get messages from people like, oh, I live here. Do you know anyone that has a group out here that you could refer me to? And I'll definitely, if I don't know anyone, then I'll reach out to dad and see if they have any referrals out there. Um, but yeah, just come and train. I get messages from people like, oh, I'm coming into town. Just recently, when I went to Hawaii, I told one of the buddies out there, it's like, hey, I'm coming out to your area. Let's try to link up if we can. And we were fortunately we're able to. So, you know, play, learn as much as you can from other people, from as many people. Um, yeah, I feel like if there is a Filipino martial arts school by you, or someone that knows it, if it's an uncle that knows it, learn from them, because those, like, garage schools, that's how we started, and that's how we still are, for the most part. I feel like those are like the most organic.
Yeah, like do you guys have any lifelong visions or goals? Like being multiple cities, different chapters, or globally, or what's
Yeah, definitely. That's something that it's especially now. We have a base with our my capo de mestre, Mestre Recruta. We were able to practice at UCA Hayward. We do Friday nights there. That's always open to everybody. As long as you're open, as long as you're a good person, and we don't have to deal with like I want to fight you.
is there a lot of that? Is there like different schools calling each other out? Like
Fortunately, not. I feel like those days are kind of older nowadays. I feel like we're very open to having people come in. We always cross train. That was like a number one thing that we did a lot. I feel like it helped us a lot was being able to cross train with other schools, so you get different looks. Because if you're stuck fighting the same people every week, doing the same thing, their special move, when they do this, they're going to do that, or they only swing from the right side, you have all their nuances. But once you cross train with people that you have no idea how they are, how they fight, that's when you get to learn. And that's how I feel like you learn to level up like exponentially.
what about examples where someone random outside the culture or the scene just sets up a shop and is pretty much a charlatan and just is fooling people into thinking that they're actually learning this thing?
You know what? It's funny because when it's like, oh, there's a martial arts school wherever I'm at. Yeah, if I'm eating dinner or lunch or something like that. I remember going to a spot in Union City. It's like, oh, there's a school here. So, oh, they're doing, the Filipino martial arts. And I'm just like, let me peek in, and I'm just like looking from the window. I'm like, you guys must do other school stuff. You guys must do other stuff in here other than just Filipino martial arts. Because like when I'm watching, I'm like, I'm nitpicking. It's like, oh, you shouldn't hold the stick like that. Oh, you shouldn't be so far away. Or, your hand shouldn't be at your side, So I feel like those days of like frauds don't happen as much or as often. Um, Name dropping still probably occurs for sure. I trained with this grandmaster. Da 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 da. They certified me this, or I got a diploma from this person.
Have you seen those fake clips online where there's like some kind of cult like person and then they get touch a certain point
Yes, yeah,
and
yeah,
the
of
guy just
course.
flies away
Yeah,
like
yeah, of course. Of course I've seen that, and what's funny is like I remember seeing those on VHS when they were still before the internet, Like in my head, I remember learning, because my dad was a martial artist, he learned everything. He learned Tai Chi. He used to do Tai Chi over at Lake Merritt, I remember going over there on my roller skates and skating around Lake Merritt while he's training, Tai Chi with the sword and everything. I was like, okay. So yeah, pressure points. I remember one of the guys that came in, a cable guy, to our house in Fremont, saw my dad's swords. He had katana swords and other stuff. Oh, you do martial arts? And they said, oh, I do kung fu, but not the kung fu the
okay.
one. And he's like, the one that you finish and you can kill someone with just a touch. And then they're sharing story, experiences and what to do. And I was like, oh man, you're taking their word for it, but it's like, is it really real?
Especially when the cable guy,
Yeah, right. It's like, mm,
that's what you call paid programming.
yeah, right. We got a free channel, guys.
Yeah. Any shout outs you'd like to mention?
Shout outs to my dad. Thankful for him being able to open the door for martial arts to me, um to my family, my mom, my because whenever we had world international tournaments, if my family didn't come with me, then I would be with my parents. So they're my travel buddies. Of course, to my wife and the kids, thankful for them being able to let me, understand that martial arts is something that's always going to be there. Like during the pandemic, I remember it's like, dude, sitting around not doing anything was just not the business. And I knew from that point, it's like, I can't stop, you know, it's important. It's just like any type of movement, so it's, yeah. Thankful to also like all the people that I've crossed paths with, trained, sparred, fought against, or are learned from, because there's so many out there that has had some influence, and maybe not even a direct influence by me learning from them directly. It's something maybe I've learned from watching their clips or hearing them speak about their philosophies of martial arts, and all the black belts, the gurus and masters that we have in our group. They're still coming around, still helping us share our knowledge of whatever we know to them, so then they could pass it down to their family, their students, or
Yeah, speaking of things passing on, as current or future practitioners of this art form, is there any cultural values that they should be aware of or try to like maybe embody one day versus just like the purely combative techniques?
you know be humble. I think that's a huge thing, like, um before, or I think it's still now, but for me, like, if you were to be disarmed, it's like, oh damn, that's a big thing. Now you don't have a weapon. But what have I been saying this whole podcast? I've been saying the stick is only a training tool. If I have no weapon, I'm still just as effective with my empty hands, you know? So a disarm shouldn't have weigh so much as it did in the past. I kind of like have the idea in my head, like jujitsu. You're a high level person, you're gonna get tapped. Someone higher level than you will get you, right? And you have to tap, or you're gonna go to sleep, or you're gonna break an arm or a leg, right? So it doesn't hold as much. It does, like, oh man, it got me. But at the same time, it's okay you got me, because that means you found an opening, and I left an opening now. So that's why I see it. If I get disarmed, it's fine. Good for you, because you had the timing to be able to get me. Not saying like I'm like this person that can never be disarmed, but the fact that they got the timing perfect, I give it to them. That's it feels good for them also, or to get the disarm, which they should, but they shouldn't feel bad, because again, you're training with upper and higher. You could think of the hierarchy. It's like, oh, I shouldn't do this to them because they're higher belt than or higher level than me, or they're just gonna whoop on you, which happens. And then, again, it's a learning situation. Be open to it. Don't be caught up on a win lose type of situation.
Well said. And final closing thoughts for our listeners out there. What would you like to close out with? Whether it's someone who's never been exposed to FMA before or someone who's already in the scene, what would you like to close out with?
I think the biggest thing is just be able to be open minded. Um, find other people that are open minded with you. If you have five that instructor and they're like, no, that style doesn't work. Obviously you're gonna have opinions to it, but try. Be out there, experience it, even if it's like a local karate dojo that does some Filipino martial arts. Try it, you know um because eventually you're going to have to find the right teacher, and that's all depends on how much you want to seek for it. If it's something that you really want to learn, then you'll find people, you'll message people. I get messages from people saying, I watch your YouTube clips back in '06. I want to learn from you. Can you teach me? When that happened to me, I was like, dang, you watching those old clips still? It's like, cool. Yeah, come, let's go. So be open minded, train, try, um, and just don't give up, because, like, for me, again, this is, I can only speak for myself, because I feel like martial arts is just going to be something in my life until I can't move anymore. So try, be open minded, and play. Have fun. Like, have fun doing it. If you're not having fun, why do it?
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on the show. I've definitely had my mind and eyes open to how prevalent FMA actually is without knowing that it's really been here all along.
Yeah, it's crazy to be able to see it, and like, oh, like a fight scene is like, oh, they did for sure use some Filipino martial arts in there. It's cool.
Yeah, it's even interesting too because I am almost 1,000% sure that because I grew up in San Diego
Hmm.
and there's a big Filipino
Oh, there's
community.
huge, right?
Yeah. So, well, I'm confident that a lot of my Filipino friends would not know that what they're watching is a Filipino martial art in these movies,
You
right?
gotta ask him now.
Yeah.
You gotta ask him. Let me know.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you're welcome to come back on the show anytime. Thank you so much for being on here and giving me your time.
Definitely appreciate it. Thank you again.